Well, good morning, everybody. Matt M. Roy back again. This is going to be my first Q&A video. Now, I was going to wait till I got 20 questions, but things were going a little bit slow. I'd really like you guys to put some extra questions up there because I know I get a lot of questions, but been kind of slow lately. So I figured I would go with the first 10. And there are some very good questions in here, things that I've been meaning to answer, but, you don't always think of them right away. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I made myself a little cheat sheet, just so I can read this off to you, and hopefully I don't mess anybody's usernames up, so forgive me if I do. The first one is from Jonathan Grindle, and his question was, I was wondering, Matt, what do you use your HP triple core system for? And also, have you ever thought about making a Steam OS box? The HP triple core system is what I use primarily for importing videos from my vintage camcorders, i.e. the Digital 8 and the Mini DV camcorders. Because my Dell XPS 8700 doesn't have a FireWire port, and there is not an easy way to put one in there, that's pretty much what I use the HP triple core system for. It's right behind me, and I import the movies because I have a FireWire card in there. And then once they're imported, I use just the copy and paste, and I copy them from there to a little thumb drive. And this is the one right here. And I load them on the Dell XPS 8700, and that, of course, is where I do all my video editing. There probably are faster, better ways to do it, but hey, it works for what I need it to do. The next thing that they asked me is making a Steam OS box. Now, I do like playing games, but it's mainly vintage computer games. I probably would not do that for my personal use. Now, if a client asked me to build one for them, I would have no problem doing it. But as for me using a Steam box, it's just not something I'd be interested in doing. But we'll see. And like I said, if somebody asks me to do it, I will definitely film it. All right, next question is from Michael Smith. I love vintage stereo equipment. Can you do more videos in the future on this topic? By the way, you are sounding 10 times better. I guess your cold is on its way out. Yes, it is. Thank you very much. It took about a week to get over this. I still have a little bit of, I hate to use the word, but phlegm. But other than that, all the other symptoms have gone. As for the vintage stereo equipment, it's funny you should mention that. I know I've said this in the past, but when I was younger, in my teens and early 20s, I collected vintage AM radios, tube radios. And in that closet right back there, I probably have about 15 and 20 of them. And one of my goals this summer is to take each one of those out and do a video on them individually. So definitely stay tuned because that's going to be coming up fairly soon. All right, question number 3 is from Gunther8544. What's your best ever find from a thrift store or garage sale? Mine has to be a complete Team Buddies for the PlayStation. I paid $1 for the game years ago at Goodwill. It's worth at least $75 today. Yeah, that was a nice find. As for me, I've had so many good finds over the years. I think one of my most profitable finds was a vintage oscilloscope from the mid-1970s that I got from a garage sale. And the guy just gave it to me. He said, I don't know if it works, but you're welcome to have it. So I took it, and I did some research and found out it was a very desirable model, and I wound up selling that on eBay for about $250. I think I got about $250, maybe $300. I don't exactly remember because this was years and years ago. One of my best personal finds, years ago, you guys have never seen this system, but I got a, at the time it was a AMD Athlon 5200 dual core custom built system from our local thrift store, and I used that for many years, and I only paid $5 for that. So that was probably my personal best find on something that I used and didn't resell right away. Next we have a question from Brandon P. Hey Matt, I'm glad you're on the mend. Thanks again. I definitely feel a lot better today. Just a few questions. What is your favorite gaming console of all times? And I may have missed something, but what happened to your plans for a custom-built PC? My absolute favorite game console of all times has to be the original Nintendo NES. I got one on my 7th birthday, which was, I believe, in 1990. And I remember that my parents got me Super Mario Brothers 3. And I kid you not, when I got home from school, I would play that game from the time I got home till dinner, because I would stop and eat, because, you know, I love to eat. I would eat dinner, and I would go back and play that till it was bedtime. And that year, I actually did really poorly, because I would play that over doing my homework. As for the plans for the custom-built PC, now, I was originally planning on building a custom PC. I talked about that in a lot of the walking vloggers. I was going to buy all the parts off Newegg and do it myself, but I wound up getting the Dell XPS 8700 because at the time they had so many discounts that the price that it would cost me to build a PC versus buying this Dell was pretty much even. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a big Dell fan. You guys know I've had Dell PCs pretty much my whole life. And that was the main reason I went with the Dell, because I was getting the same things for the same price. And another reason I didn't want to do it was I was not happy with the selection of cases that they had on Newegg. Now, as a lot of you guys probably know that have built PCs in the past, the cases they have now are really, really crappy. Unless you're willing to spend $100, $150 for a case, and I was not, you're going to get very, very cheap metal. I'll never forget the time I built a PC for a client and I used a case I got off of Newegg. I think it was a Roswell case, and this was back maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I went to tighten the screws on the outer case, and I went a little too tight, and I actually twisted the pot metal that the case was made out of. So those are my reasons for going with the Dell XPS 8700. You guys may or may not disagree, but it was best for me at the time. Alright, question 5. Abandoned Exploration Adventure. I love your videos, man. I watch them pretty much every other day, and I'll rewatch a few of them as well. I know you purchased quite a few parts and computer components on eBay. I don't believe if you mentioned if you also sell items on eBay. If so, what is your username there? Thanks, Matt. Always cool to see your videos. My username is CoolCat83. As for selling on eBay, I used to 4 or 5 years ago, but I had an issue. I'll tell you the story. What happened was I had a Texas Instruments 83, a TI-83 graphing calculator. It was something I was using for school, and I decided to sell it because I had graduated college. Well, I put it on there, I sold it, I shipped it out, and about 2 weeks later, I thought everything was fine. The money went through, but about 2 weeks later, the guy that I sold it to emails me back and says, "Dude, where's my calculator?" And I said, "Well, I have a tracking number here that says it's been delivered." And he said, "No, I never got it." So there was a huge, big thing going back and forth between me and eBay. Finally, it was resolved, but eBay had actually taken my money out of PayPal, because whenever I don't know if you guys know this, whenever somebody complains about a seller, they are always inclined to believe the buyer. So they actually took the payment that he made to me through PayPal, held it in escrow until it was resolved. And I actually had to make 3 or 4 calls to eBay directly to get this resolved. But luckily, I was able to. But it took about a month or so, and it left a really, really bad taste in my mouth. I may eventually go back to selling on eBay, but Craigslist and the virtual Facebook yard sales seem to do well by me, and I don't have to pay any fees to them. Alright, we have question 6, which is ACC0919ME. And the question is, I really like car videos. My question to you, if you could own any vehicle that was produced, what would it be? Mine personally would be a Bentley Continental GT3 RP. Okay, this is a good question. As you guys know, I've owned a lot of cars over the years. You know, my first car was a Monte Carlo. I had a Ford Taurus. I had a van, and of course, you know, now I'm driving the Lincoln Town Car. One of my absolute favorite cars, and this might show my nerdy side. I would love to own a 1981 DeLorean. Just like the one they had in Back to the Future. Not fixed up like the Time Machine, but just the standard DeLorean. Yeah, they're slow. I mean, they only have that Peugeot Renault, the PRV, the Peugeot Renault Volvo motor, and they go 0 to 60 in like 10.2 minutes. It's just a cool car. And, you know, maybe someday if I win the lottery, I'll be able to get one, because they still cost... they cost anywhere between 25 to 30 grand in good condition. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, you can actually purchase them new. When the DeLorean Motor Company went out of business in 1983, those parts, they still had tons of parts to make the cars, and they never had a chance to make them because they abruptly stopped so quickly. And it was sold to a gentleman, I believe, lived somewhere out in the Midwest, and he opened the DMC company again, but it wasn't like a regular car manufacturer. This guy mainly sells parts to keep the DeLoreans that are still on the road running. But if you want him to, he has the parts, and he will build you a brand new DeLorean out of the old stock, and I think they go anywhere between 40 to 45K, because now you can actually get a Corvette motor, the LT1 or the LS1 installed, so be a pretty fast car if you ask me. Okay. Paul Kelman asks, put up a video on your Dell XPS 8700 showing its operation and just how fast it is with 8 gigabytes of RAM and the new video card installed. I will do that. That may be within the next week or so. I don't know if you guys know, but I had a real issue getting my GT640 installed because it is an older generation card. Even though it's better than the one that came with it, which was the GT720. It wasn't completely compatible with Windows 8 initially. I actually had to go to NVIDIA's site, and I waited about a week before they had a driver out that was completely compatible. Even now, I have an issue to when I first turn the computer on, I don't see the BIOS splash screen or the Windows 8 startup screen. If I hit that power button, the first thing that comes on my monitor is actually the login for Windows 8, that login screen. So I'm probably going to change that out when I get some extra money. I'm probably going to go with a GTX, I think it was a GTX 760 that I was looking at. But if you guys have any recommendations for me, let me know. Now, bear in mind, I'm not a gamer. This is mainly for video editing, watching YouTube and Netflix, and maybe playing some light games, internet games, stuff like Luxor, things like that. So if you guys have any recommendations for me, I'm all ears. Next one is Mr. Jommy. So I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but I'm sure you know who you are. Who do you like better, UXW Bill or V Westlife? That's a hard question. I like them both, but for different reasons. V Westlife does a lot of vintage hardware reviews, but he does a lot more. I know he has a lot of Tandies, which I like because that was my very first computer. He also does a lot with audiovisual equipment. UXW Bill, on the other hand, does some of the cooking videos. He's done quite a few of those lately, which of course I like as well. And he tends to collect the PS2 systems, which I had one back in the day, but I didn't really know too much about. So to answer your question, I like them both equally. And question number 10 is from James King. What has been the best camera you have ever used that was cheap? I had, back in the day, when I say that, it was probably 5 or 6 years ago, I purchased at a garage sale for $10, was a Sony 7.2 megapixel CyberShot camera. Was, I believe, model M50. And I still have it. It's in that closet. It's in that wreck of a closet somewhere. And if I was able to get to it, I would show you guys. Not really high quality by today's standard, but wow. took some of the best pictures of any digital camera I ever owned. And like I said, it still works to this day. Got 2 batteries with it, the case. And when I bought it, I mean, the camera was only like 2 years old. And the gentleman I purchased it from said that his wife just got a new one. Hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A video. If this is successful, I'll make sure I do more. I want to hear feedback from you guys, so please, if you have any questions for me, post them in the comments. And as always, have a blessed day, everybody.